Hey everyone, today I'm going to go through every single James Bond movie and give my tier list ranking on them. So, S being the best, F being the worst. You probably know how this goes. I've seen every James Bond movie, and the only ones that I did include were the unofficial ones, like the kind of comedy version of Casino Royale that was a long time ago with Peter Sellers, and then Never Say Never Again. That was kind of the remake of Thunderball with Sean Connery. Um, so we have all the official ones here. And before I get into this, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with these movies. I was born in '94, so for me, the Brosnan era is my era of Bond movies, and all the way into Daniel Craig's movies. So those are going to be a lot of my favorites, but they're some of the older ones I do like a lot. So um, if you were someone that grew up maybe with the Roger Moore era, which is the ones that I dislike the most, those might be your favorites. So I'd love to hear why, and I can understand totally if your favorites are my least favorites and vice versa. So we're gonna start off with the first one here in Doctor No. This I think is a great start to the series. It was both interesting now and for the time. I do like the villain in Doctor No. He's not in it a whole lot, but when his presence is on screen, it is felt. And I do think that it is a pretty good movie. It's probably in my top three or four of Connery's. I'm going to put it in C because it's not one I watch a whole lot. I do think it's a better movie than that, but I still do really like it. Um, Next is From Russia with Love. This is my favorite Sean Connery Bond movie, and so it's going to go in A for me. Um, I really like Red Grant and just the whole. This is where I think we get the first appearance of Blofeld. Well, maybe not like you can see him, but he's on screen, and this is where the Spectre, I guess, group starts, and you get to see the whole group of people. And I think this is kind of a really good Bond movie. This is, I think, like where it really starts to pick up and get into like what Bond was, especially back then. Um, Doctor No has some really good sequences, like whenever Ursula Andress is coming out of the sea or the ocean. That's an iconic shot. But I think I personally like From Russia with Love a lot more, and I rewatch it a lot more. So um, that's why it's going to go in A. Goldfinger, I do like this one, but it's not my favorite of his. I'm going to put it in B because it is really good, but it's not one that I rewatch as much because there are parts of it that are, I think, a little bit slower than others. But the scene where he's got the laser and he's interrogating Bond, um, or he's just pretty much about to kill him, that's a really iconic scene and it's a really great scene. I'm gonna try and order these also in my so like A if From Russia with Love was the first one in A, it's my favorite of those. I'll try and do that, but some of them are a little bit hard, so we'll see. Um, but yeah, Goldfinger's an iconic villain, and then you got Oddjob, um, and just some of the iconic moments in the series, and his car in this one. So it's a good movie. And then Thunderball, I personally like a little bit more than Goldfinger, but if you ask me which movie was better, it probably would be Goldfinger. Uh, I just tend to want to rewatch Thunderball a little bit more. It's not like it's one of my top 10, but I do like it a lot, and every once in a while I'll watch it, and I find it to be a pretty good time almost every time I do watch it. Move these over a little bit because I know there's going to be some that beat that. You Only Live Twice. I've only seen this one, I think, twice, and both times I just kind of was just like, it's okay. I don't think it's like terrible, but it is going to go on like the lower end of C. Like Doctor No is far better than You Only Live Twice, I think. But there are some of the iconic moments that I think Austin Powers actually does a really good job of spoofing the whole volcano scene at the end. Um, so I mean, this isn't like a bad movie, but I don't watch it very often. Like I said, I've only seen it twice, and it's not one that I've really wanted to revisit since I watched it that second time. I was like, it's kind of enough. Um, Next is the only George Lazenby Bond movie, and that's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. A lot of people really like this one, and I just don't. I don't want to say it's all bad because there are some good things in it, but for me, it is one of my personal least favorites. Um, I it's like in between D and F. I'm just gonna put it here because I don't ever want to watch it again because I've seen it now twice and both times I was just extremely bored. The plot is okay, but I just don't really like all of the voice dubbing that is very noticeable. And then that middle section is really boring. Like the beginning and end, I'm okay with, but like that whole middle section of the movie just bores me so much. And that's kind of where where how I feel about it. And I just don't like George Lazenby. So next, Diamonds Are Forever. I've only watched this one twice, also, and it's going on the low end of D. Um, Actually, you know what? I'm gonna move You Only Live Twice down to here because I find Diamonds Are Forever just a little bit more enjoyable on my second rewatch. So I'm gonna do this. Uh, that's probably accurate to how I feel. Um, Diamonds Are Forever has some moments that are pretty fun, even though overall it's kind of a little bit silly. But the whole I forget their names, like the two henchmen. I think it's like Wint and Kid or something like that. They're like kind of funny, and there's some moments in this movie that don't make a whole lot of sense, but it's still like I'll watch it when I have watched it and been like, okay, it's kind of fun, even though it's really stupid. So I think it's only slightly better than You Only Live Twice. And then next is the first Roger Moore movie. I think this is one of his better ones. Live and Let Die. It's probably my second favorite of all of his. I would say that's probably a B for me. I do like the villain in Kananga, and then some of the henchmen like Baron Samedi. There's some other ones that I'm just drawing a blank on. The guy that's got like the claw hand. I forget his name. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but this was the first Roger Moore one that I watched, and it's probably the one I've watched the most, even though it isn't my personal favorite. I do like it a lot. Um, and then Man with the Golden Gun. I think this one was very disappointing, especially when you have Christopher Lee as the villain. Like this movie really should have been better than it was, and I think the idea and like the characters that they brought in are really good, but just like the events that happen, it's kind of too silly at times. Live and Let Die even has some silly moments that I think are a little bit much, but The Man with the Golden Gun I think goes like too far with some of them. With that cop that's from like Louisiana or something, he's like on vacation and I don't even remember where like that scene is, but that's like the whole thing where they have like the slide whistle when he does that like awesome stunt with like the car where he like rolls it over a bridge or something um, in his AMC Hornet. But like, yeah, they had to run it with that slide whistle. But I mean, I get it. It's just kind of like the time of which it was, uh, made. That's kind of what people wanted. So for me, it's just now it doesn't really work. Um, Christopher Lee's character and the gun, and then you even have Knick Knack is really good. So there are things I like. I'm gonna put it probably the lower end of D, but it's not all bad. There are things that, like, if they ever were to like remake this, like, I don't know if it would even work, but because like the cast is so good in this, but it is. It's got some things that I like. Just overall, it's not like a favorite of mine. Um, Spy Who Loved Me. Probably gonna. This is like a really good one of Roger Moore's, but I don't watch it all that often. Jaws makes this. He's the better villain than Stromberg, but there are iconic moments in this. I think it's pretty close to Doctor No for me, so I'm gonna put it over here for now. I don't know why I keep saying network request failed. I've noticed every time I do this now it says that, but whatever. Um, yeah, so The Spy Who Loved Me has some really cool moments. Uh, I believe this is the one with the Lotus is free, and there's just a lot of stuff in this one that I find enjoyable. So really, there's only a select few of Bond movies that I straight up don't like. So even the ones in D, if they're like in this area, I'll still watch them. I mean, even like Diamonds Forever. Like if you told me you wanted to watch it, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. The only ones I don't really want to watch are like the F. I just don't like them. Um, so we're gonna get into another F right now, and that's Moonraker. Admittedly, I have actually. This is the one that I've only watched one time, So I'll say that maybe I would enjoy this one upon second viewing, but the time that I watched it, I was just like, man, I just don't like this. The only thing that I did that I kind of like is, well, it brings back Jaws. That's one thing, but for the video games that I grew up playing, there's like missions where you're in space and that are clearly inspired by Moonraker, and so that I kind of like. But this is one that I would rewatch just to give one more try. But that first viewing, I was like, wow, this is pretty bad. So I actually am going to switch because I don't ever want to watch Under Majesty's Secret Service again. So, oh wait, actually, I did have it in the right spot. So, for now, Honor Majesty's Secret Service is, I can't remember. I think there's 24 or 5 now Bond movies. So let's say there's 25. Honor Majesty's Secret Service is 24. Uh, but the worst one is coming up very soon. For Your Eyes Only. I don't watch this one all that much. I've seen it all the way through twice, and then bits and pieces on TV. It's the lower end of C because there is some cool stuff in it, but like I don't really ever want to watch it. Um, Roger Moore, I don't think really like adds anything to this one. It's kind of weird him with that one like 18-year-old girl that's like a ski. I don't know if she's a ski student or something. It just it didn't work for me. I was like, all right, this is weird. But I don't even remember the villains from this one, to be honest. I just remember like it's kind of forgettable, and that's kind of the problem with it. Um, so that's why it's like low end to C. Octopussy, this is my least favorite. I hate this movie. I won't watch this one again. I literally every time I watch it, I just can't stand it. I've watched it 2 or 3 times, um, and I just don't like it. There's so much silliness in this one that I just can't get over it. The whole like circus pass thing when he's dressed up as a clown, or he has to go and dress up as a clown, even though he's saying there's a bomb in there, and then he's showing like he's clearly part of MI6. And then there's the whole um, just like the sword part where I guess it's not that big a deal. It happens, but like they're fighting on top of the train and like the sword bends and like they didn't even try to hide that. There's the tiger thing where he like shoos the tiger away. There's the Tarzan swing. And there's just like a lot of silliness in this movie that I just don't like, and um, I think for back then maybe people really loved it, but I just don't. So for me, that's kind of where it goes. Um, Next is A View to a Kill, and I know a lot of people don't like this one, but I actually kind of do like it. It's gonna go in high B for me. I like the villains a lot in this one, so that's kind of why. And then I think Tanya Roberts was a good Bond girl, even though her character was kind of annoying. Um, but I just kind of like maybe not the story with the horses and everything, but Christopher Walken I think is a really good villain, and I think that it's memorable at the end with the Golden Gate Bridge where he's fighting with the axe on top of there, and then his fall to his death I think is very fitting for how he was killing some people, where he was dropping them off the top of his blimp. But and then the whole scene down in the mine I think is really good. So I've watched that one a lot. I'd say that's the second one that I've watched the most behind Live and Let Die of Roger Moore's. So that's all of Roger Moore's. Now we're into Timothy Dalton. And The Living Daylights is okay, but again, like half the time I'm not even exactly sure what the plot is, and I'm kind of having a hard time following it. I've seen it a few times, and like it's got some cool stuff. Like there's a lot of good action, but I do like his car in this one a lot. The it's an Aston Martin. I want to say it's like the V8 Vantage. That's one of my favorite Aston Martins, and I think it looks really cool. But I just really have a hard time following that one. So like I don't mind watching it, but like the first half I think is much better than the second half. And I'm pretty sure like he's like helping the Taliban or something in that second half, and it's just like, I don't really like it all that much. So yeah, I don't particularly think it's great. I don't pick this one all that often. So next is I think a much better movie by Timothy Dalton, and that's License to Kill. This is my, I would say, fifth or sixth favorite. So I'm saving S for like the top few, like probably top three. But I do really like License to Kill. The stories are very different. He's basically going after. It's very personal. He's going after like a drug cartel leader who killed his friend's wife and tried to kill his friend. Um, and it's Felix Leiter, that he tries to kill, and he like feeds him to a shark, and he manages to live, but he's like basically almost dead at that point. He saves him just in time, and then so he like joins this. He like goes behind, or he goes rogue basically to go infiltrate this drug cartel. And Benicio del Toro's the henchman in this one. He does a pretty good job. And there's some weird stuff with like some fake religious cult or whatever towards the end, but I think that whole like ending scene is really good where he kills um, the main villain with like the lighter that Felix gave him because he's covered in gasoline and he just lights him on fire. But the even the cocaine grinder part where Benicio del Toro gets ground up in there, and then the one guy who's got like the squinted eye. I don't even remember what he did. He was just like he had his own marina, and he was helping the main villain, and he gets his head blown up in like a pressure chamber inside of his boat or something. It's some pretty gory stuff for a James Bond movie. So um, that is one of my favorites. But I'm gonna put my top three, I think, maybe top four in S, and we're gonna go with the first one here. GoldenEye is definitely an S. This is one of the best. Everything from the villain to the plot, the Bond girls, the cast, just everything is really good. I don't really think there's a flaw about it. It's not my personal favorite Pierce Brosnan movie, actually, but I do really like it. And I do tend to watch it a fair amount. And I think that it definitely is one of the more iconic ones that has come out. And I don't think that there's a coincidence that the director of that one also made Casino Royale, because those two are both really good. And I would say those two are tied, and the only reason my personal favorite is what it is not so much because of the movie, but it was the very first one I ever saw, and I played the video game, and I just really liked that one. But we're getting to that one soon. So next is Tomorrow Never Dies. This one is, I think, good, but it's not great. It's B for me. Where I like watching it about once or twice every couple years. I've seen this one probably the most actually of any James Bond movie because it's like always on TV, but it's got kind of like a boring plot and boring villain, but the action's really good, and I forget his name, but he's he's like some media mogul, and he's basically trying to start World War III between Great Britain and China by he's in like a U-boat or something, or like some sort of boat that's like invisible to radar, and so he's firing missiles, British missiles at China and Chinese missiles at Britain, and he's trying to basically just start this war. And it's like an interesting plot, but like the whole like him trying to get rich off of making these, he's like way ahead of everyone that's putting out these papers, and I just feel like like the media, is it really like that? I mean, I guess it is that powerful, but like he's just, I don't know. I feel like he's really making it seem like it's this enormous big deal, when I just like, it's not that interesting guy. But I don't know. Yeah, some of the henchmen are okay. Like there's that German doctor that he has like that quick encounter with after he kills his like one love interest. I forget her name, but yeah, this one you'd think for how much I've seen it, I'd remember their names more, but I don't. I remember Wei Ling, and I can't remember the other guy. There's like his henchman is like this like Russian or this German guy who's like really built and he's got blonde hair, and he like gets his foot trapped in the missile, and then he goes and launches them off and blows up. But so enough with Tomorrow Never Dies. We're going to get into my favorite. So that is The World Is Not Enough. And this is because it is like the very first one I saw. This is the one I've seen also a lot. Um, I can understand why people might not like it because Denise Richards is not the best actress. But I do think Sophia Marceau, I think is her name, is a really good Bond villain. And I always like, when I was younger, I thought Renard was the main villain until I like got older and rewatched it because I was never allowed to watch Bond movies as a kid, but I my grandma had a few of them, and so I'd watch them every time I'd go over there, and this was the one that she had, and I was like, okay, well this one's the newer one, so I'm gonna watch this. She had that Doctor No Goldfinger, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna uh, watch The World Is Not Enough a lot. So that's just like the one that I liked a lot. And Renard, I think, is a great villain. His whole like thing where he can't feel pain because he had an encounter with a other MI6 agent that put a bullet in his head and kind of like paralyzed his nerves. But he grows stronger every day until he dies. And then I think that his death is really cool, where he gets like impaled with a nuclear rod, and that final like part where they're on the submarine is interesting. The opening is great. That boat chase. I love the song. That's one thing I should have gotten more into with some of the theme songs for these movies. Um, a lot of them are really good. I'll go through it, I guess, really quick. World Is Not Enough is one of my favorites. Um, From Russia with Love, I like. Tomorrow Never Dies, View to a Kill, Live and Let Die, Thunderball. Um, I think I like the Living Daylights. Um, that's it for now. But yeah, those are the ones that I like the most so far. But there are some good ones coming up, and a really bad one next. But yeah, The World Is Not Enough, one of my favorites. So, and then this one's pretty bad. Um, where I know I'm putting it D. Um, I'm drawing a blank on the name actually. I know it's Die Another Day. That's it. But yeah, for me, it's probably in here because I've seen it too much to just know that I just don't want to watch it ever again. Um, I'll move these closer whenever I get further in. I actually do think that's good for now, so I'm going to move these over. I'm pretty sure I know where the next few are going. But yeah, this movie has a bad song, bad story. I don't like the villain. I don't really like anything. The sword fight is interesting, but doesn't make any sort of sense in the moment where like they're jousting bait or not jousting, but they're having like a. It's like the best part of the movie though. It's like halfway in where he meets Gustav Graves and he's having like the sword fight through like the country club, and they just wreck this country club. But like nobody really stops until Miranda Frost stops. But yeah, I don't really like this movie or anything about it. I think the game Everything or Nothing would have been a better movie than this was. And if you've ever played that game, it's Pierce Brosnan and William Dafoe's the villain. Um, I forget her name, but she was in Scary Movie 1, 13 Ghosts, and a few other like American Pie. She's like the girl that is like in his room. I've only seen that movie like a few times, but that actress is one of the Bond girls, and then um, the judge on American or not American Idol. I don't remember that show with the buzzer. Doesn't matter. Um, she's the Bond girl villain, so it's a good story that should have been made into a movie, not Die Another Day, because I think that one's bad. But this is going to be, I think, no, not going to be the last S tier. Casino Royale is really good. I think that's where it's going to go for me. Um, GoldenEye, I think, is a little bit easier of a watch, so I'm going to put it there for now. Because Daniel Craig's movies are really good, but they're really long, and sometimes I just don't feel like sitting down for a movie that long. So I think that's good for now. But yeah, Casino Royale, his first and probably his best. Bond movie. It starts off great, and it goes all the way, and I like that ever continuing story all the way from Casino Royale to No Time to Die, and Vesper, how she affected him, and throughout every movie pretty much. Um, Now, when we get into some of the other ones, I'll talk about what I do think they kind of ruined with this storyline. But I think they started off really strong. The director of Goldeneye comes back for Casino Royale. Casino Royale has a great song. Um, you Know My Name by the singer of forget it. The song Black Hole Sun. That band, I'm not like a big fan of the band, or really I don't Chris something, don't remember it, but yeah, he did a really good job with that song. Do like it a lot. So I think that is one of the better Bond movies. Quantum of Solace, I do think it's a lot of hate, and I don't think some of it's justified. I do think the story is pretty lame, but it's definitely not like the worst movie. I think that it's like average, but some of the action is still good. The car chase in the beginning is good. The car is good. The song is terrible. Um, but I do think that there's good qualities in this movie. I'll admit that, when I rewatch it a few times, I'm like, yeah, I can see why people don't like it, but it's not terrible. Um, I think at least I can understand if you like, yeah, no, that movie's just straight crap. But I guess also, like I said, keep in mind I watched this one. This was actually the first Daniel Craig one that I saw. So I went back and saw Casino Royale after and was like, okay, they're both pretty good. Um, but Quantum is not as good, I think, as Casino Royale or the next one, Skyfall. For me, is going up in here. Um, this used to be my favorite, but because of kind of what the next one did, kind of went down. I every time I try and watch it, I try and pretend that Spectre doesn't exist because it straight up almost ruins this movie. Um, it's not a perfect movie. Also, the more I've rewatched it, but that's just kind of being nitpicky. It is really good. Javier Bardem does a really good job of playing as Silva, and then we have the death of M, and bringing in the new M. And I do think this is like a really good movie. I've heard this one is not as liked as I thought it was going to be, but again, that's just everyone's just got different opinions, so I can understand that. Um, Spectre. Uh, so what Spectre does bad, because it has good action, is its whole trying to bring in Blofeld and make like Bond and Blofeld relatives or like stepbrothers. I think is so stupid. And then he's like, "Oh, I've been behind all these other people were a part of Spectre, and I just don't like that." So for me, I'm gonna put it like there because it does have good action and it's not totally bad, but just like the story is like, what are you doing? It kind of like made me not too confident in No Time to Die. But I was really hoping after watching the trailers for No Time to Die that it wasn't like Spectre with its story and that it didn't carry too much over. And I do think No Time to Die improves a lot on what Spectre did wrong. I do think Spectre has some good things like introducing Swan, I forget her first name. Um, and then it's not Blofeld, the character, it's what they did with Blofeld. And then we have Dave Batista playing as Mr. Hanks, who I think they could have used more, but I do think that he does a good job when every scene he's in. I would have liked more fist fighting scenes, I guess, between him and Bond, other than just the train. But that is a pretty good scene. Um, so that is where I will put Spectre, and that's pretty much the highest I'm willing to put it. So, and then No Time to Die. Uh, where do I want to put that? I've seen it 2 or 3 times now. I think I'm gonna put it in between Tomorrow Never Dies and A View to a Kill. Um, it's really long, and it's just got some stuff that just goes on for like I feel like longer than necessary. Not a big fan of the whole um, the new 007, but it doesn't really bother me or anything. I just don't really like the actress, to be honest. I've seen her in other roles, and I didn't like her in them either. She just kind of plays the same character, and yeah, I don't know. I like No Time to Die's song. That was one thing. Skyfall has a really good song, and then Spectres is pretty good actually, and then No Time to Die is I think a really good one. The story in this is pretty good. What it does bring from Spectre does a good job. We kill off Blofeld in a pretty brutal way. I like the whole like virus thing that they introduce. Um, so there are a lot of good in this movie. It's not one of my like top. Well, I guess it is in the top 10. So if this is how I rank it, World is Not Enough, GoldenEye, Casino Royale, Skyfall, License to Kill, From Russia with Love. Yeah, so it's 8. So um, I feel like that's fair. Um, this list has changed though so many times. The top, even like World is Not Enough, was always like my second behind Skyfall. But when I really do find The World is Not Enough just to be an easy watch because it's shorter, but it's filled with a ton of great action. GoldenEye is the same thing. It is a little bit longer, I'm pretty sure. Casino Royale looks long, but even it keeps you interested with cards, which I don't like poker at all. Skyfall has more action, great villain, which is one thing I didn't even mention. Casino Royale has a really good villain with I'm so bad at names, but Michael Madsen I think is his name. He's the guy that's got like the one eye that's got the scar that bleeds. Um, so I'm pretty sure this is how I would leave it. Depending on my mood, I could pick any I'd say from this C and up. And then just because maybe I haven't seen Diamonds Are Forever or You Only Live Twice in a while, I might pick them. But pretty much from here down, I'm not gonna. I might rewatch Moonraker one day just to give it one more chance. But my first viewing, I thought was just like it was too silly, and I just didn't really like it. So, but yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it off. Let me know your ranking, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.